Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome. We're here. This is Sunspots Comics. I am Chris, joined along with man. I've missed you. He's back, Michael Norris. How you doing, Michael?
Good, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. Let's recap everything. Since the last time. No, it's like 2 hours and go back. A retrospective, if you will.
catch up on the last, whatever year or so.
Yes, time is weird. And does it really exist? Do we exist?
Should I start with dinner tonight and just work back chronologically?
There you go. Well, I'm just so happy to have you back, Mike. And this is always an absolute joy and pleasure to pull out a classic comic of a volume one and just break it down and do our little comic commentary. I mean, just tell me how much you love this.
Oh man, we've been trying to do this for months now.
Oh,
I mean, 3-4 months at least.
We're just so busy. Our plates, our multiple plates are spinning. Our multiple plates are full. They're overflowing. I mean, what do we do? We need more time. Can we get somehow a 36-hour day, maybe?
My flux capacitor is not working. DeLorean broke down. I'm out of luck. I mean, yeah.
What the hell's a gigawatt? Well, thanks for joining us, everybody. And before we get started, Mike, because I hate to forget, just tell the people, where can they find you, and what else are you working on? Like, plug yourself right. A bunch of times.
Well, I'm going to be starting a podcast up soon too. It's going to be called Let's Talk Collecting, and I started Instagram, so you can catch me at Let's Talk Collecting. Nice. As that gets going, obviously we're going to be keep doing this, and I got a couple other ideas that I know somebody I can pull over from Sunspots Comics that might be able to help me out on my side a little bit. So
yes.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at primarily.
That's exciting, man. Let's Talk Collecting. Fantastic. I hope to be a guest on your podcast one day and talk about hoarding lots of things and keeping lots of stuff and having no space to put it anywhere.
Well, exactly. But what I want to do with this, I really want to explore the idea of collecting things. And I don't want to just, obviously, I know what I like to collect and there's interest in that, but I want to contact and reach out to people who collect things that I have no idea about, or things that I'm not passionate about, but I'd love to see how they got it and what their journey was to get into that. So
will your brand, Let's Talk Collecting, sort of go deep into the psyche of people sometimes as to, will that be part of what you inquire upon, is like, why?
But yeah, I thought about looking at psychological aspects of this. What started them? Do they still have their first piece? Are they on collection 1? Are they on collection 5? Which revision are they on? All those kind of pieces I find fascinating, because I know what my journey is on it, and I love to see what other people's is. So, it's gonna be fun. I haven't nailed a lot of it down yet, but it's something I've been thinking about for a while, and I think it has a good opportunity.
Fantastic. It's right up your alley. It's areas that interest you. You're definitely you have an inquisitive mind. So I will subscribe to Let's Talk Collecting when you get it rolling, man, and have me on. I will increase your listenership and your viewers and your followers, because that's just what happens.
Absolutely. I mean, you'll at least be in the top 10 of the first ones that come on.
Oh, top 10. Jeez. Thanks.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I got 9 other people that are more important. That
oh gosh. Okay, then pencil me in. I understand.
Pencil you in. No,
write me in a loose number 2 pencil, eraser next to it. I get it. No, I'm just kidding.
Just highlighter. Just highlight.
Highlighter.
So photocopy. It doesn't come through.
Oh man, well, fantastic, man. Well, I can't wait to hear it, and best of wishes to you. Best of luck with Let's Talk Collecting. Can't wait to hear all of it, and let's talk more about that in the future. Definitely.
Absolutely, man. But let's get to the meat and potatoes of this.
What are the meats? So check it out. The meats today is about Invincible Volume One. Yes, we're going back in time. Speaking of flux capacitors, we're going all the way back to January 2003. Remember those days, Mike?
Young and naive, and a lot more hair.
Man, it was virus free, and oh man, there was no left,
iPhone
there was
free.
no right. 2003, and this came out. I remember seeing it in a comic book shop, Invincible issue number 1 by Robert Kirkman and Corey Walker. In 2003, I was visiting comics shops on the regular every Wednesday, still buying physical comics, which you've just talked me out of year after year. Till I have
more space.
Yeah. Let's Talk Collecting. It lines right up. And I passed on the first issue at first. It didn't quite appeal to me. The cover didn't do anything for me. Robert Kirkman wasn't a name that holds such high regard as it sort of does now, Mr. CEO of Image, etc. I passed. And then I remember the next week having a non-buyer remorse, and then I picked it up. And then I was like, okay. I see what he's doing. Remember he did you ever grab Battle Pope that Kirkman did? No,
Nope.
Really weird,
Nope.
sort of high concept. So I think he did 13 issues of that. Yes, that was 2000 to 2002. He did 13 issues of Battle Pope, and that it established his sort of his Kirkman style of he's the king of all cliffhangers. It established that in Battle Pope.
He's the M. Night Shyamalan of comics, as I put it.
Oh, okay. That can be interpreted a few different ways.
Yes, it can.
He also no character is safe.
Mm-hmm.
That's a Kirkman thing. Oh, you love that character? Dead. That's Kirkman's sort of concept that he has quite often. And he also is loose with the rating of comics. He sort of he makes you think, oh, this is a family friendly PG comic, and things are fine. And then bam, right? There's a bam typically.
Well, and I gotta be honest up front, I am not a Kirkman fan, but I know how much you like him.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, hey, when you suggested this be the first one we get back into, it's like I wanted to go in with an open mind.
Nice. Thank you. That's all I asked, because I definitely like competing viewpoints. I definitely like to see what you're going to say about this. But as I sort of go back in time, again, thinking about 2003, in October of 2003, so 7 months later, was whatever, January to October, 9 months later, he released Walking Dead issue number 1.
Mm-hmm.
Game changer in the field. Also, I initially passed on. And I remember reading Invincible at this point for 7 months, and I was like, zombie black and white? I think I'll pass. At this point, I'm only 7 months into really my full introduction to Kirkman, and I kind of passed. And I picked up issue number 10, and then had to go back and buy an issue number 1, a couple of number 1s that aren't right now. I think there's about $8,000 for a Walking Dead number 1.
Is it?
That's the going current price. Thankfully, I remember paying about $25, and I only had waited a little while. So anyway, it went bananas, as it did, shows, etc. Animated feature for Invincible. And also, you know what else was a game changer when I looked it up? And tell me if you remember this. It was November of 2003. So this is January, and then Walking Dead came out in October. There was a trade paperback. Now, those weren't as big a deal in 2003.
No, they weren't.
Do you remember seeing a collected issue and going, what the heck is that?
No, well, see, in the late 90s, I worked in a comic shop, so I saw a lot of graphic novels.
Right.
But it wasn't the norm. You didn't format your books for that.
Right. The graphic novels were like a complete story typically, and these were just reselling.
Yeah.
And us floppy issue weekly guys were going, what the hell is that? Why do I want to have them in one collection? It was around that time where I was looking at it going, that's just weird, which is now moving to, that's the primary format. I think eventually floppies will be gone, and it'll just be sort of trade collections, 6-issue miniseries, etc.
It's how I mostly read all mine now. I mean, very rarely I get frustrated, and it's kind of that binge mentality. Think about it when you watch a TV show. Yeah. We've talked about that lots of times, and even looking at traditional TV shows and stuff where they were 22 episodes, they were an hour long. That's 22 hours. Now I know whenever we have conversations, first thing you ask me is like, how many episodes and how long is each episode?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, isn't that crazy, that dance we're doing with time now? It's a whole different thing due to how much more content and how much more we're watching. Yeah. So it does make sense in a way. And I know comic book shops have gone from like 2,200 shops about 3 years ago to I think there are around 1,800 shops according to Comicron. So they've lost like 400 or 500 shops. So, and it seems the trade collection is coming up more often, and this was sort of the birth of that.
And I think with the comic shops, them going away, I think it's a more of new issues, because on the secondary market, I find it still pretty healthy as far as vintage comics. Been able to buy like off of eBay and a couple of these other ones. They're out there still, and people are selling them. It could be individual collectors, or they could be an e-store that's just selling them directly.
Yeah, even Marvel's or DC, one of the two, has come out with that facsimile edition. Have you heard about that? It's just crappy copies of old legendary comics for cheap.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you're gonna see it in all sorts of
Yeah.
inclinations. But I just remember Invincible Volume One coming out and going, "What? That's what is this thing? That's not gonna work."
See, and
Collecting,
I remember the
collecting four
hype
issues.
between Invincible and Walking Dead, and I didn't neither one really appealed to me. I was reading just mostly DC and Marvel at the time. And I remember when Kirkman jumped over and they started, was it Marvel Team Up when they restarted that again,
Mm-hmm.
the Spider-Man based one?
Mm.
And I think he had pulled in Scott Knowles, which is a Flash artist. I think he came over that to do that book with Kirkman. And that's
Mm.
where I remember reading his stuff for kind of the first time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Interesting. Did you like it? What did you think of it?
it was just okay.
Just okay. Yeah, he
Just
didn't
okay.
grab you at first.
Nope.
I'm hoping Invincible does that for you because, in my opinion, it's the best of Kirkman's work.
We will see.
We'll see. But volume one, by the way, of Invincible, we're about to dive into. Please feel free to just go page by page with us. We're going to literally do a comic book commentary and go page by page of volume one of Invincible that came out January of 2003. And before I jump in, dude, do you remember at the time Sony and other various sort of media companies turned Invincible into a like motion comic that they were pushing really hard? Do you remember seeing it on your PSP or your PlayStation or things where it was a live action version of Invincible where they sliced and diced pages of the comic, hired voice actors, and were trying to make a little sort of video on comic book on DVD thing? Do you remember that?
I do, because there was a short period of time, like a year or two, where they were doing that with a bunch of different things.
Well, it is for some reason not on YouTube. I know I'm gonna have to get fancier with my keywords because now that there's an Invincible animated series, it just sort of like they want to bury it and I can't find it.
I
But I
may
remember
own
it.
it.
I remember being it pushed on lots of things where it was a motion comic, and it brings me back as I'm going to show a visual for people that are watching us on YouTube. It brings me back to comics on DVD, motion comics on DVD, like this from the digital comic books company, where they would basically copy pages of the comic book and slice and dice it and making it seem like there's motion and action, and hiring voice actors to voice all of the characters and read the basically all the thought bubbles and speech bubbles to us. And
So,
Invincible tried to sort of do that,
yep.
and it didn't work.
So they did it with I can't remember if I bought the Invincible one. I did buy Superman Red Sun.
Mm.
I think Superman Red Sun and Astonishing X-Men.
Okay.
And they weren't bad. It actually reminded me of the old Marvel shows, cartoons from the 60s, where they did the same exact thing, early Kirby stuff.
Yeah. Slice and dice comics. And you know what I found? That there's graphic designers that are doing this like now. Like there's a guy on, I wish I could give him a shout out on YouTube. He took like volume one of this and sliced and diced it and made it a motion comic and did most of the voices himself.
No, that's funny.
Yeah, and added in music and sound effect and really made it very professional, very polished.
Huh.
And I want more of that. I think it's a cool way to experience comics. TV and movies, they make their own interpretation of the source material, right? Of comics.
Yep.
This is literally slicing and cutting the comic itself. Like in certain scenes where, Mark is punching someone, the blood is cut out and sort of floats around the scene. Like it's fun. And I think I'm going to spend some time looking up motion comics. Look it up.
Well, it is fun. And I was just looking through my library real quick. I found Iron Man Extremis, Jonah Hex. And like I said, I know I had Astonishing X-Men. I think I had
Here's something I found on the web. According to Wiki.com, the resulting mixture had
there we go.
Anyway, you're finding more of these motion style comics?
No, I'm finding the ones that came out at that time that I had purchased.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Astonishing X-Men, that's on there.
That
But
were
yeah,
motion comics specifically
that
in this
motion
format?
comics. Yep.
Excellent. I think I want more of that, and I'm going to go deep diving onto YouTube, finding
Yeah.
motion comics with voice actors and so on. There's some people there's a guy the guy that did Invincible One or Volume One. The actors sound like the animated voice actors, which is weird.
Interesting.
Because Kirkman hired all the Walking Dead actors to do
Right.
all the voices of Invincible animated series.
Right. He already owns their souls, so why wouldn't
he? Yes. And all right, well, let's dive in. First off, again, follow us along page by page. We're starting Volume 1 of Invincible. This is titled Family Matters. It's the first 4 issues, floppy single issues of the comic. And I noticed that Kurt Busiek, this is also lettered by Kirkman, Robert Kirkman, penciled and inked by Cory Walker, who will eventually not be the artist of Invincible for reasons. It's kind of there's loose information out there as to why Cory Walker left. Loose, some say definitive. Anyway, there's a falling out. It didn't work out. Cory Walker eventually leaves. Quickly, do you like Cory Walker's art or Ryan Ottley's art better? Which appeals to you more? They're both great artists, but which one do you like more?
I couldn't tell you what Ryan Ottley's art is. I like
Holy
Walker's
mackerel.
art in this. I'm sure if I saw it, I'm just not familiar. He's not an artist that I follow on. Okay. So, I'm sure I've seen it, but yes, well,
you'll know later. Invincible goes to 144 issues, and I think Cory Walker does 6.
Okay.
I mean, Ottley does, you know what I mean? 138 issues. So and that's what he's known for.
I was going to ask you too. So if somebody's trying to follow at home, we're reading this on Comixology Unlimited.
Mm-hmm.
It's up there right now. And as Chris said, it was Invincible Volume 1, and it's got the first 4 issues in it.
Mm-hmm. And but it was Kurt Busiek.
Yes.
Who is a staple in the business, established. He does the forward to this, and I don't always read forwards. I just kind of skip through. But the very end is some cool little nuggets here. So this is Kurt Busiek in May of 2003 writing about Invincible. He says, "So listen to me, listen carefully. Like I should have listened when I was where you are now. But no, I was cocky, confident, foolish, doomed. It's too late for me, but you can still get away. Can warn others. Put the book down, back away. For God's sake, turn that page. And if you do, then remember this. In those still small hours, I warned you." Kurt Busiek, May 2003. I thought that's great. Well, and I didn't read the rest of the forward, but right there, that is a great kind of way to sum up Invincible.
Well, and I'll tell you that's fun. I love the little about Kurt Busiek right there at the bottom.
Oh, yes, read that.
Kurt Busiek has enough award plaques to tile his bathroom and enough damn statuettes to play chess on the result. He writes in theory for Marvel, DC, Wildstorm, Dark Horse, and more. In fact, he should be doing paying work right now. Think of the children, won't you? The children.
I love that. That's Kirkman. Yeah. So he's again just totally encapsulates Busiek and gives him the ultimate compliment. And he shouldn't be even doing this right now. Go get paid.
No, that was pretty fun.
Yeah, maybe one day I'll read the rest of the forward and find other nuggets, but
it's too many words.
So this does page 1 here, guys. We're with Cory Walker art's spectacular. Look at that line on the fist. Look at the dark outline on the fist. You don't see that thick, a heavy black line a lot in comics. So that was also a little sort of new element at the time. That's not done. There's often a very thin or almost no outline in comics if you really pay attention and look at it. And that thick is almost a line for animation. That's like a sort of animated trait to have that dark and deep of a heavy line, an outline, and that fist coming at us at 100 miles an hour, yet in total clearly drawn, is a flash forward, right? We're like, what? Aren't we going to get an origin? Wait, here's Invincible in the suit, got a dude, and he's flying towards us. And if you were to, would you agree or disagree that Mark Grayson is kind of Peter Parker, but dumber?
I wouldn't say dumber, other than the fact that I feel like as society has progressed, he's in comparison to his contemporaries in 2003. Let's put it that way, versus what we perceive of a teenager in the 1960s. So you can call it dumber. I just think he's a little bit more modern.
You think he's more modern? In this, the way he's portrayed, honestly, he's just kind of a doofus teenager. He's just kind of a dude, kind of a bro dude, kind of like a, he's not an A student in school here. Mark Grayson. He's just he's a regular guy, which Stan Lee tried to do with Peter Parker. He just tried to make a regular everyman's guy, except for Peter Parker was like this genius in the lab.
Yeah.
He's not that. Mark Grayson's not that. He's kind of he kind of has some one-liners, a little quick-witted, but he's a dude. He's just a guy.
Yeah.
But here he is, a flash forward. He's like, you really ruined my afternoon, as he's carrying this guy off with like a huge bomb strapped to his chest and like 13 seconds left. Right.
Oh, and the art on this and the perspective is great. I mean, he does a great job of that.
Yes. And the simplicity of the first few panels, it's like barely any background, Invincible holding a bad guy. And this flash forward is obviously, Mark's capable. We're not seeing year one. I mean, we are seeing year one, but this feels already like with this little flash forward, he's been invincible for a while already.
Yeah, it feels that way. And that's what makes it a little bit confusing, because you don't quite know it's a flash forward, but you can kind of guess.
He's out in the middle of nowhere. He throws this guy with the bomb in an area that's not populated. He's kind of been doing it, right? Because as we will see much later, he makes a lot of mistakes and fumbles through some stuff. And it's like, oh, well, okay, here he sort of knows what he's doing. And you're like, okay. And it's established quickly due to this explosion that he's fairly invincible, as far as we know. Impenetrable.
Versus an ironic name.
Right. And do you love that really this is his outfit, which clearly we see here, is the Image logo. It's talk about everyone, it's been known for so long. His suit is the Image logo. You look at the dot with the yellow and the line. Did you know that? You knew that, right?
Yeah, I knew that.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean,
what does that say?
Kirkman was playing to the Image.
Right. And now he's president of Image, right?
Yeah. I mean, you could say he was really believed about the company and wanted to show his support of that, or he really wanted to suck up to him and make sure his book got published.
Yeah. Or a little of both. Yeah.
A little bit of both. Either one's fine.
Yep. And so I remember that being shocking when I first saw that. I was like, is he like Mr. Image? Like, what is? Well, I was taken aback a little at the time.
And the climate of Image at the time was not what it is today, and it was not what it was when it started.
Yeah.
Where Image when it started obviously was the big guys, Todd McFarlane, Jim Lee, all of them. This was at a lull when Image was not hitting it. I mean, I think the only thing they really had that was kind of still staple was Savage Dragon. And I've known very few people that read Savage Dragon. So it almost feels like Kirkman was trying to make the mascot. He was trying to make their Spider-Man.
He came in at a perfect time, right? He came in at a perfect time when the company was struggling within finding its footing, finding its brand, finding what it represented. And he was like, I think I got it,
Well, and the industry was changing at that point where it was going more creator driven. And, a lot of people would say indie and stuff like that, but it was going creator driven. It's really the direction things have gone into.
Yeah.
So no, I think it was right place, right time. And he had a good sense of what he should be doing.
Yep. Well, then here it is on the sort of next page. It's 4 months ago. So he's been invincible for 4 months. And here's his mom. Here's the Aunt May of the series, his mother.
Yeah.
And of course, she's knocking on the door when he's in the bathroom with a magazine. And yeah, I'm sure she's thinking, he's reading a comic and everything's fine. His teenage son's in a magazine.
Is that a Walking Dead comic?
No, it's Science Dog, who Kirkman did a Science Dog spin-off series as well. It's like this Cocker Spaniel that's a anthropomorphic scientist. It was kind of fun. But yeah, he's Mark Grayson's dropping a deuce.
Yep.
And mom's banging on the door. Like, why would a mom do that to a teenage son? She can hear the magazine pages turning. Run to the hills.
And I get why doing this, but on the other side, it's like, for me, I don't need that in my comics. Just it's like, okay, I get it, everyday life, but I don't need him to be that real.
Yeah. I thought it was kind of a funny gag.
Yeah.
It's just, showing a mom that is being a mom.
Yeah.
And doing her thing. And he's I like the sort of what they're establishing here. It's a regular day at home. It's It's mom with getting breakfast ready for her son as she's going off to school. It's relatable. They're seeing on the news that looks like their dad fighting some giant dragon monster. His Mark's dad.
Well, I don't.
So,
You don't know it's his dad yet.
no, there's the cape. You see, kind of.
Oh,
And I'm
no.
pretty
I
sure.
mean, I guess in the dialogue, he's asking right there about his dad. Where's
Yeah,
his
yeah.
dad? Yeah.
Omni-Man, Mark Grayson's dad. And we quickly sort of I'm wondering, because we already had the flash forward. I'm like, does he have his powers? This obviously is 4 months ago. What's sort of happening here? He got ready rather fast as he's reading his Science Dog comic on the toilet.
We just had to pull his pants up and get downstairs. I mean,
so we quickly established that no, he doesn't have his powers. It's 4 months before he had his powers, and we meet his friend William. One thing that was interesting, a comparison to the animated series, which I'm sure you haven't watched, they did sort of change some of the race of characters as to their color, their background, etc., diversifying it a bit in the cartoon.
well, isn't Mark part Asian? Isn't his mom?
Well, it was loosely done that way, but punctuated in the animated series. But this
Okay.
sort of is he kind of has some traits of, yes, being Asian. And as time goes along, they sort of clarify that more. And he definitely, from the beginning to the very end, it looks like an Asian guy in the animated series, even voice acted by an Asian person. So they went all in with that. But in an interview with Kirkman, he talked about how they did want to update it. He said, 2003, this comic is just a bunch of white people all running around. There really wasn't any diversity in there. So the animated series added a little bit and changed the characters. And I think that this character, William here, who he meets, is very clearly gay and homosexual in the animated series, but I'm not sure he is here. He's just kind of a nice, sensitive fellow sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't get that sense, but you don't actually interact with him much.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, it wasn't like a plot point that it even stuck out to me in the series.
Okay. It's just one of those little comparatives where I went, oh yeah, that's in the animated series this, and that may happen to my brain as we go along here. But I like quickly that he's got some burger flipping joint job, and he quickly realizes as he attempts to throw trash into a trash can, it goes deep into the sky.
I hate to be the guy on the other end where that trash comes down.
Yeah. At 100 miles an hour at 10 miles away. Yeah. That's
like,
going to ruin that person's day.
Oh, yeah. And
he does.
He's just excited because it's like all of a sudden it's like he's got powers.
Yeah, and it's about time as you drop to the end of that page with just a look of glee on his face, like we all would be. Like, yes, I have the power. And he holds up a sword, and there's a skull castle behind him, right?
No. You're getting that mixed up with the good stuff.
Oh, the good stuff, you mean?
Yeah, the good stuff.
Right over there. Got it.
Right over there.
Great skull behind him for you audio only listeners. But so then he's next page is hanging out with mom. I'm sure he's having a hard time keeping it all in. He had a pretty interesting day, and then whoosh, Omni-Man / dad shows up with that mustache.
Yeah, that what's funny is that the Peter Parker comparisons, obviously Mark to me feels very much like Peter. His dad feels like J. Jonah Jameson to me.
The mustache completely. Yeah. Almost you can and what's of course in the animated series, Omni-Man is played by J. Jonah Jameson.
I didn't know that.
You know that? Okay.
No.
Who is that actor that I already forgot his name?
J.K. Simmons.
Yes, very ripped J.K. Simmons. Yeah. Old guy ripped. Voice of Omni-Man in the animated series. So you nailed it without even knowing because you didn't watch the animated series.
No,
look at
that's
you.
Funny. Well, and it's funny because obviously there's parallels between Superman and Lois Lane here. Mm-hmm. And that's the vibe I get off the mom. I didn't get an Aunt May vibe. I got a Lois Lane vibe.
Nice.
That she's very much capable. She can handle this. She's not some frail thing that's going to break and have a heart attack every time Peter forgets to pay the rent,
Yeah.
So I like the sense of family that they have. It's like, this is a normal, strong family, even though they have this extraordinary circumstance.
Yes. Because as the series goes along, I found myself quite often longing for the moments where him and his dad and his mom were together. I did that sometimes reading Spider-Man back in the day, but it's just that it's that scrambled eggs in the morning. It's those moments he captures really well going forward. Again, I'm trying to sell you on continually reading this because I think I know where you're going. Don't you shake your head.
Well, and I will tell you, what's nice about this? I don't know if you remember in the early 90s, there was MTV did Eon Flux.
Oh,
and
yeah.
then that very similar style came out to there was a Men in Black cartoon that came out around that time too.
Mm-hmm.
This artist style reminds me a lot of that. And it was a nice little, everything's a little longer, a little angular, couple lines and stuff here that's not like a typical like cross hatching or things. And so it's clean and it really kind of ties it all back. And when we get over to a couple pages down, there are some Men in Black looking characters, and it just pops in my head that, oh, hey, it's almost like it's in that same world.
Nice. Well, maybe Cory Walker was influenced by that, or who knows? Wouldn't that be funny to find out that Cory Walker was like the storyboardist on the Men in Black cartoon? That is just an influence there. Yeah, that'd be crazy. I'm gonna have to look into it after. But it's a warm family moment we're experiencing here. It's it's just past the potatoes. It's just it's what we all look back upon. It's a nostalgic family moment. And then nighttime hits, and he's like, I'm gonna try to leap tall buildings right in a single bound.
Part of me wanted him to fall straight on his face because I always find that funny, but it's so cliched too. And so it's just kind of like, okay, well, I'm glad it didn't happen. But the other side is, I guess flying, if you can fly, it's got to be just like walking.
Yeah.
You don't really have to, it's in there.
Mm-hmm.
But if you think about it, you had to learn how to walk.
Yeah.
So there should be, I mean, I would at least see them, kind of lose some altitude, like the old biplanes that you would see in movies where they're running out of fuel and they're kind of going up and down. Just
or
something.
the Fleischer Superman cartoons where he was just more jumping from spot to spot, right? Yeah, I know what you mean. But you know what? Again, spoiler for a little bit more ahead. His dad will be teaching him stuff later, and there's some of that happens, and sort of how Kirkman approaches, like you said, how flying's like walking. They actually address that a little bit, and like, how do you teach someone to fly when they have this ability? So they actually get into that a little. So you've tapped into something again. Hoping you read forward from this point. I'm trying to just tickle you with a feather. But he does fly. I love the blue in this scene. It just goes all very blue-white tone, giving the nighttime effect, and he takes off. I like the pacing. We're already, I don't know, page 6 or 7. We've already established so much, right?
Yeah.
How his powers happen. Boom. Like when it happened, his dad's Omni-Man. We don't know where his dad's from. We don't know, why. You're right. Superman and Lois sort of thing happening. But and then we get a new character involved. So we're like, okay, this quickly establishes the world. We got this like cement guy running around, which I've already forgot his name. But
Cement
Head. Was that his name?
No.
We'll go with that. Sidewalk
in our
guy.
great naming culture here, just whatever we randomly want to call him.
Right. Yeah, I like that. But he's having some dealings with a guy which looks like a little bit of that underbelly maybe of the of an organized crime organization sort of thing. And then we get to see sort of Invincible Costume 1, where he goes with that a very kind of Image-esque looking. What was the dude in Wildstorm with the red sort of handkerchief over his face?
Grifter.
Doesn't that give you a little bit of that? At the time he's got the circular glasses.
It gives me more of like a 50s superhero vibe.
Yeah, a little swashbuckler kind of guy.
Yeah. I mean,
Lone Ranger almost.
Early JSA member or something.
That's definitely Watchmen even looking. Yeah, that sort of golden age. Yeah, that's how a teenager came up with that. Interesting. But we get a testament of his powers here quickly as this thing cement guy gets most of his outer skin layer kind of peeled right off in this massive punch from Mark.
How do we know he's just not like was taking like a mud bath and that's just what's dried on, so he just hits him and
you bet. I mean, imagine superheroes at first having just a horrible time identifying what's happening here and punching people and accidentally murdering people, right? And just going to court like, yeah, like I was just crossing the street after a mud bath and here you go.
There's some dude with a handkerchief on his face and goggles.
Exactly.
He's wearing his mom's rubber gloves.
Yeah, that's true. Just how that's a great little point there, right? But we see the extent of his powers, and then we see quickly that Omni Man's like standing there watching him, like, "Hey, son, how's this whole thing going?"
Yeah, well, I'd kind of be like, couldn't help a little bit.
Yeah, he would have. I think he was just making sure he was okay, and kind of giving some tips, like, sounds like the police are here to pick, so come on, let's go
Let's
Splitsville.
beat it. Yeah.
Yep. And great little silhouette of a father and son flying off in the gray, and then guy lying on the ground with the stars around his face, and how he's going to introduce him to a guy that can help him out with the whole costume thing.
He's got a guy.
He's got a guy. This is what's in Batman, the guy that makes that makes everything. What's his name?
Well,
not Alfred, but the guy
no,
that makes the bat, everything, the bat copters, the bat shark repellent.
Well, I mean, it depends. Are you talking about Lucius Fox?
Thank you. Yes, Lucius Fox.
Because he had a hunchback that lived in the cave for a while, Harold, that did that too.
No, not him. I always consider it Morgan Freeman.
See, I always think when I see a character like this in the Flash's world, the Rogues have a tailor they always go to.
Oh.
And he's the one that makes all their costumes and stuff, which is odd, but something that's left over from the Silver Age.
There you go. That's kind of like this then. It's perfect. They're best buddies. This suit maker guy, he's Edna in the Invincibles, right? Basically. And they're going over his suit. And even for my own comic, Zombie Destroyers, I admittedly kind of stole a little piece from this, where one of the characters in my comic actually is he's this amazing tailoring ability. And so I just love the sort of trying to find the right suit and I have that sequence in my own comic. And so I dug this a lot, to even where I emulated.
Well, I actually like this design, other than the bug eye glasses they're wearing.
The Neo sort of glasses. Yeah. It's a mix mash between Neo and Morpheus, where there's no side things. It just sort of clips onto the frame of his nose.
Yep. I think a domino mask would have been better, or even like that cowl mask thing he wears with the hair hanging out. That would be better. But
steampunky thing. Yeah.
I think the color scheme's cool on it with the orange and the yellows. The discs are kind of weird, but they're also kind of a cool feature.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it was actually a pretty decent design. And I know he doesn't go with it, but it'd be nice if somebody else used it.
Yeah. And spoiler alert, we may see things in the future. There are definitely costume changes that we see, in colorization that changes. And so he kind of goes with this suit, and this Omni-Man and the tailor are friends. They've established some history in some of this dialogue, that they've known each other for a while, etc. So it seems like that's a foreshadowing. There's just a little bit of that here, and he's back in school.
That'd be such a bummer.
Got these powers, you can fly, and then you got to sit in a desk and do homework. Yeah. But he's not the best student. You quickly kind of establish that he's just sort of a dude hanging out there and wants to get it done. You know what I mean?
Just get through high school.
Getting through high school. And then you got that Flash Thompson sort of moment here. Peter Parker, Flash Thompson thing that's about to happen. Bully getting picked on. Mark's going to step in, right?
Yep.
And he does. It's very reminiscent of Tobey Maguire in the Flash Thompson scene here, where he puts his elbow into the locker.
Well, and they're thinking about that because that came out in 2001. This came out in 2003. So, they thought that whole scene was something they wanted to establish themselves.
It's angle, like the angle of it is the same, even, right? I bet you if you pause the DVD of Spider-Man 1 with Tobey Maguire, it's like framed the same way.
Well, even that bottom panel, it looks like he's about to do the flip over him as he runs towards the locker.
Yeah. Yeah. So definitely an homage. See, we all are, everyone homages.
Mm-hmm.
And they definitely did some Toby maging here, we'll call it. And then there's a little bit of an Easter egg here as to what Kirkman does sprinkle in some Easter eggs, but the name of the school, and is it this principal, his name as well, is he the Reginald guy, or is it the name of the school? Anyway, the name of the school is the cop on Die Hard,
which is the cop from Family Matters.
Yes. What's the name of the guy? What's his name in Family Matters?
Reginald Wilson.
Reginald Wilson. Oh, okay. Oh, so it's the Family Matters. That's his name from that.
Winslow.
It's Winslow.
Sorry.
Yeah. So was that his name on the desk here? Was that, or is
Yeah,
it the name of the
Winslow.
school?
No, it says what was that? B.H. Winslow.
Is that him on Family Matters? I never watched that show.
B.N. Winslow. Yep. I don't remember what his first name was.
Oh, okay. Maybe it's the name of the school. Anyway, isn't it like the Reginald Day something is the name of the school? Anyway, well, I think we'll see the name of the school later, but a couple of little sprinkling of Easter eggs. I guess Kirkman was a Family Matters fan, or the character that was the cop in Die Hard.
I mean, it's obvious because when you get to the end of these 4 issues, Urkel is the villain. I mean, who would have thought he'd make Urkel the villain? So it makes sense.
You're right. And then he says, "Did I do that?" Right?
Did I do that? Well, I mean, in spoilers, Invincible, Mark gets his costume. He just pulls those pants up really high. And that's how he gets the superpowers.
It's a self wedgie, and then that's how superpowers happen. So from school, we go. When he gets his name here, the birth of his name, when the principal says, "You're not invincible," and his eyes are like, "Bing! That is my name. Henceforth, I will be invincible." He doesn't say any of that, but the eyes, the eyes say it all, right?
It's a good thing he wasn't like, you're not that slick. Ooh.
Slick. That's me. I am slick. Oh gosh, yeah. Just think any other thing he said.
Oh, you think you're like, smooth? Ooh.
Smooth. He's like, don't be a D-bag. Just thinking. He's like, D-bag.
I like it.
That's what. Because he's kind of a dude. He's, Mark's just a fella. Thankfully, he said invincible in that hit. He could have said a number of things,
Oh, yeah. Oh, I feel like getting Taco Bell today. Ooh, Taco Bell.
Taco Bell. Look, man, don't be a Jerkus Perkus. Ooh, Jerkus Perkus.
Yeah.
These are all great names.
I'm a teenager. I can't think of other stuff.
Thankfully, Kirkman was like, yeah, Invincible sounds cool. We'll go with that. Starts with an I, image logo, branding all together.
Yeah.
It's got to coordinate.
Yep.
All right, so here we go. Huge bank robbery happening. Pregnant lady on the ground. You're like, oh man, it got a little serious right here.
Why didn't Kirkman just shoot her? Because that's what he does.
Not that quickly cold-blooded.
Bam, just blow her away. Zombies coming at the same time.
Oh man, worlds colliding. That's something that just never happened that I wish did, was a crossover. It just didn't. I'll spoil you now, with Walking Dead and Invincible, or just something. Or there are some sort of zombie aliens that come sort of way down the road, but I would have liked to see an actual crossover with the two, but it never happened. Anyway, so bank robbery happening, and then Invincible with a different suit that he just kind of didn't go with that cool orange one in the discs you liked. He showed up in the flash forward with the bread and butter, the meat and potatoes.
No explanation. This just ends this chapter just with a new, hey, I'm invincible and I got a different costume.
Yep. And I was surprised there. I was like, the guy, Edna Mode guy went with the orange and the disc, and he was like, nah, and just showed up in the signature suit. So it was fine. All right. So I enjoyed it. Again, I passed the first week, so I read it like week 2 or so.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, there's something here. I'm liking this. I'm a huge Spider-Man fan. You're not as big a Spider-Man fan. You're more of a Flash guy. So I felt that it tinged me, spider sense tingling with the family stuff. I just thought this was a well-paced, a good first issue. What did you think?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was decent. I can tell you I would not have stuck with it if I had bought it, because as I've gotten older, I have a harder time relating to the teenager.
Get off my lawn.
I know, right? I love that. What are you kids doing out here?
Get out of here. You're going to be that guy in a rocking chair in your front yard with a shotgun filled with salt pellets.
Oh, can't wait. I'm setting up a motion sprinkler, so when anybody cuts across my lawn, they just get sprayed. Across it. Don't care who it is. But no. And so I have a hard time relating to that aspect. And I find that with a lot of comics. Some of my favorite comics have a parallel to kind of where I'm at in life at that stage. And so it's really hard for me to relate because, I'm not a teenager anymore. Right. So that's just a piece I have to deal with.
Right.
So
I can understand that.
I liked it. I mean, as far as reading it to finish out these issues. Like I said, if I was spending money on it and this was fresh on the shelves, I would have stopped at this point because it's like, okay, it's okay,
Really?
but it's too Spider-Man for me, just kind of a modern Spider-Man. I would go read Spider-Man.
But put on your Mike Norris 2003 glasses. Remember, you were a spry, young, hipper person. Didn't have a lawn at this point. You had no lawn to tell the kids to get off of.
No,
Try to
but
picture yourself in 2003. What would 2003 Mike say about issue 1 of Invincible?
about the same because again, I was past that teenage stage. So where I know what I was reading at that time, actually, I wasn't reading a lot at that time. We all go through that stage, but where I would have been reading was more interested in characters that were kind of evolving. And it's funny because I would have been reading Nightwing at this time, Dick Grayson, because he was growing. He was coming to his own. I was reading The Flash at this time. Wally West was growing and coming into his own. And these were guys that had gone from being kids and teenagers, in this world to now young adults whose lives are progressing. And that's what was really fascinating to me at that time. So anything that really dealt with a kid, a teenager, didn't care.
Wow.
So it would, like I said, it's decent. I think the artwork's decent, but it would not have been enough to hook me at 2003. And even now, I just can't relate to a teenager. And like I said, I see all the parallels to Spider-Man. Art's great. Like I said, even the writing is not overly Kirkman. So it doesn't offend me.
Nice.
But
I'll take it as a positive, a least offensive Kirkman title at this point that you've read.
And yeah. And I mean, I was glad to read it in one chunk because if you said, hey, we're gonna read issue 1, I would have read it and said, okay, just what I've said now, and go, great, now open it back up. That doesn't mean my opinion hasn't changed as I read the next couple issues. But as far as where the snapshot is at this one, that's where I'm at.
Awesome. Well, thank you for your honesty. That's what I want. I definitely, we have an opposing viewpoint ish at this point. I can't wait to see where the next chapter brings us and what you think of sort of issue number 2 of the first volume of Invincible. Man, I think for you, considering your history with Kirkman, I would think this is
like I have beef with him or
it's
something.
somewhat complimentary for the things that you've said to me off mic about Mr. Kirkman's work. So
I'll tell you, with Kirkman, I've read quite a few of his issue 1s. This is the first time I read Invincible 1. I think he did Astonishing Wolfman. I read that one, issue 1, and I liked it. I liked it enough. What was it? The dinosaur one he did. I read that one. I thought that one was okay.
More for kids, definitely, even going younger. Forgot with Dinosaur Jr. I forgot the name of it already.
Something like that. Yeah.
It's a kid and his dinosaur.
Like I said, the Marvel team up, I read those. And I got about 6 issues into that before I just bounced out of it. And then I've read The Walking Dead, I think like the first 8 volumes or something.
8 volumes?
Yeah.
You went that far into The Walking Dead?
I went that far. Yeah.
Holy man, I thought you maybe read like at most 8 issues.
No, I know I got past the prison.
Okay, I'm impressed.
Yeah, I got past the prison, but I think then I was done.
I think there's a very big chance you'll go further with Invincible because I've thought of this long and hard. If I had to pick one or the other, Invincible is, in my opinion, a far more superior comic, far more enjoyable comic than Walking Dead. And I read all of The Walking Dead, every issue.
Well, and I
so did my wife.
In The Walking Dead, it was during the time when the show, and I didn't watch the show because it doesn't really appeal to me too much, but it was during that zombie hype, and I wanted to understand what it was like, and I bought the issues, the volumes. Surprise. And I read them because they're fairly quick to read.
Some are, and some aren't. He goes real heavy into some dialogue.
Yeah, I probably skipped that part.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and like I said, we'll see. But yeah, I've read at least through where the prison gets attacked.
Wow. Color me surprised, and I think then that I do see some potential with you going further with Invincible than I do at Walking Dead. And you know what else I have to mention too is that there were tons of spin-offs for Invincible that didn't work, didn't go anywhere. There was an Adam Eve spin-off. There was a sort of Avengers, the Guardians of the Globe spinoff. There was
Mhm.
Tech Jacket. There were a bunch of Invincible spinoffs that went nowhere. He just didn't have the art team. Honestly, it was really about the art. He did sort of co-write them too, but the spinoffs for Invincible didn't work and didn't
Well,
go anywhere.
And I'll tell you this with Invincible. I don't know how much, I'll be honest, just how much interest I have reading, say, issue 5 on, but I would be interested in looking at another volume of it when the status quo kind of change, because I know what happens. I mean, I think we all know what happens in this. You know,
You already know, and you didn't watch the Invincible animated series, and you
No.
didn't read the comics, but so just from the news, you've
Yeah.
heard what happens coming up very soon.
Exactly.
Oh,
So I'd be
interesting.
interested in seeing, because I know this book a couple times changes the status quo kind of
Yes.
up. I'd be interested in seeing something further down the line. where
Good.
they
Well,
say,
then
oh, we did that.
don't
versus
prejudge
sequential.
and say you don't see yourself going past volume 1, because some of the things you're talking about are like in volume 3.
Yeah, and I could see skipping 2 because it's like I don't need so much groundwork laid. But even
Man.
going to like volume 5 or 6 or something, like when his status quo completely changes again, I could see even jumping up to one of those to see if that hooked me a little bit more.
Nice. I'm going to
Good.
try to make you stay grounded and read it in a linear fashion. We'll see. We'll see if by strength alone, I don't really have to do that. If by the end of volume 1, I can't wait to see where you are and if that perspective has changed. But keep an open mind, okay?
Oh, absolutely.
And don't shoot me with the salt pellets when I step on your lawn. Just
Hey, I'm keeping an open mind because you haven't seen my picks yet, and I gotta apologize ahead of time.
no. Well, hey, I'll even mention it, but we're leaping ahead. But your Transformer, I won't say which one that you kind of recommended for us to go over. I'm excited. But anyway, we won't go deep into that. But chapter 1, so far so good. You did compliment it in your own way due to your past history with Kirkman. I'm going to take some of that as positives. I enjoyed it. I was locked. I was hooked. I passed on first issue. I did. I was like, nah, not for me. Because I'm a Spider-Man purist, and I heard some things like that. Like I was like, no, I don't want to make a Spider-Man wannabe. I don't want it. But I read it and I was like, okay. And anyway, so yeah, to be continued at this point.
Yeah, sounds good.